To begin with, my teaching philosophy was basic. I want to create a learning environment that encourages learning. I want to differentiate learning so that all students, no matter of their learning style, have the same opportunities to learn. As I began my student teaching this winter, that developed and grew. I started in a kindergarten classroom and went on after 8 weeks to a special ed self-contained classroom that was grades 2 through 5. Through that, I have come to see that I need a more holistic teaching philosophy. I need to nurture the whole student, not just the small learning environment. I noticed that some students need security of knowing that they are supported even when they misbehave. In addition to this, seeing to the physical needs of the student is just as important. An example of this might be as simple as just making sure that my students have had breakfast, and if they haven't, going to the cafeteria and giving them 5 minutes to eat before my classroom starts. I need to understand the family dynamics that they have so that I can communicate with the parents to encourage learning at home as well. The use of technology in my classroom is something that I have really enjoyed after having worked in a classroom for the past 16 weeks. I used technology both in both classes, and I used it hoping that it would encourage the learning by giving certain apps to parents, communicating through technology. One thing probably that's my favorite about using technology in the classroom is being able to divide the groups up into the classroom up into small groups. Having devices the students can do apps on, like ABCia or RazKids. Starfall for the kindergartners was a great one, where they're learning the basic learning goals. They're getting that reinforcement in a fun, differentiated style. And while I have small groups doing that, I can also work with small groups one-on-one or have a chance to go around and see how the students are doing on their devices. Probably my favorite use of technology is using BrainPop and Scholastic magazines to introduce lessons or to do a brief review. I found it to be, especially in the special ed class, a way of differentiating the learning and making the learning process more fun. My Christian worldview is a major part of me. My first part of student teaching, I came into contact with several situations I wasn't completely prepared for. One example was a kindergartner who was known for behavior issues, and as we got to know the family situation, we found out that the dad, right before school started, had admitted to having an affair over the previous years. His family was in complete upheaval. Dad felt like a failure. Mom was just trying to figure out what happens next. Dad wanted to spend time in the classroom because he felt like he had failed his son. And so I found somebody who had completely violated my moral code face to face with me every day for a couple hours. And I found that I was able to be very polite. It did come naturally, even though I didn't care for him or his actions. The learning of his son is important. And we were able to work together. I will be able to treat people with respect. I learned through that situation, regardless of their choices, regardless of their lifestyle, and regardless of any disagreements. It was easy for me to be kind. It came naturally for me to be compassionate. The son needed his father just as much as he needed to be there learning. He needed to know that things would be okay. I will promote human development, human learning and listening. I will observe the families to get a better idea of how to communicate with them given differences that we may have morally, religiously. And I will advocate for my students. I think that's the biggest part right there, is sometimes you'll find families that have different ideals, different priorities, and they don't always advocate for their students. I will advocate for their students. I will live ethically. I will keep confidentiality, and I will follow my beliefs, but I will respect others as well.